All right, everyone, and I am back for the second part of this video. I had to answer the door at the end of the last video. We rent this house, so the people who own it, they came here to install a new heater. So hopefully it's going to stay a lot more warm in the house because it is supposed to get really cold here soon. So that's actually going to be a benefit. But yes, it's always distractions from the outside world. We are always being pulled and tethered and back into the common society and the outside world, the muggle world. Okay, so we were reading some excerpts from this book. I think it was called OTO Rituals and Sex Magic, I believe is the name of the book. I can't remember who the author is, but we're going to pick up right where we left off in the last video. So if you did not watch the last video, please go ahead and do so. Otherwise, the context of this may not make sense going directly in. But we're reading certain parts from this book, which talks heavily about the OTO. Sperm. Okay, that's the end of a different sentence. Let's start on this sentence. The ninth degree and the Holy Mass of the OTO became a parody of the Christian Eucharist, with further refinements of the techniques related to the consumption of the elixir host, also called elixir of life or universal medicine Amrita. So what they do is they take the sperm and they cook it into these cakes of light and then consume the cakes of light. It's kind of like a wafer, kind of like in normal church communion. Very strange, very interesting. Crowley openly introduced an 11th degree in his several OTO systems. I am inclined to believe that the 11th degree is better than the 9th degree. Diary entry 26th of August 1916. There is a lunar version using menstrual blood and a mercurial, in other words, homosexual version of the 11th degree. The blood or excrement, from anal intercourse attracts the spirits, demons, while the sperm keeps them alive. See, we're getting into really dark stuff here, and this is hard information to kind of find. Crowley saw no use in the vaginal fluids, nor did he think that women are divine. It says this is talked about in Lbrp and De Arte Magica, but his the way he explains things, it's he speaks in riddles. He speaks in very symbolically, so it is hard to know what he's saying sometimes. But I didn't see those exact words from him, but I think that's pretty much probably how he thought of women. He's a very dark character. Women and the feminine energy play just as important of a role on the tree of life. It's very important. They're the portals that bring things into the physical world in general. And they're often the ones who, the Mother Earth, they are the ones who have to take the burden of so much evil that has been, that has come onto this planet Earth. I think the real sacred masculine is that which seeks to protect that sacred feminine force from having to deal with all that bullshit. That's my outtake. As far as sperm being able to attract spirits and stuff, I think that's interesting too, if you take into account, like, people don't think about these things when you have an orgasm. It's called the little death. Frater Xavier in Mind and Magic has talked about that before, and the buildup of this energy within oneself and not always wasting it and knowing how to utilize it and bring about manifested change in the outside or physical world instead of just expelling it and wasting it all. That's real transmutation. That's learning how to become a true builder in the world. But this part was interesting, I thought, too, even though I couldn't find the direct, exactly where they're getting this quote from. But Crowley saw no use in the vaginal fluids, nor did he think that women are divine. That's pretty wild. And I don't subscribe to that view myself, because it doesn't make sense. Even in my natal chart, my astrological birth chart, my feminine energy is actually a 9. And my masculine energy is like 2. So feminine and masculine energies don't really have much to do with sexuality. It's just right and left brain thinking, logical, versus the creative. I've always been an artist, a musician. I've always thought outside of the box. So I guess I've had a lot of just female energy. But definitely very masculine in the way that I like to present myself and to the world and stuff. But I also do have that more sensitive side, but it is kind of overcome by a lot of darkness with the Scorpio. But that's just my own personal chart and stuff. We're not going to get into that. He didn't think that women were divine, therefore he could not imagine lesbian sex magic. He believed that man is the guardian of the life of God, woman but a temporary expedient, a shrine indeed for the God, but not the God. Women existed for the use of men, his ideal female, robust, vigorous, eager, sensible, hot, and healthy, that is to say. His interest was in the woman's body, and he wanted no spiritual or intellectual participation from her. Crowley's main tools to achieve illumination remained spermophagy, caprophagy, and algolagnia. I would have to look up the definition of those words. Spermophagy. Definition? The ingestion of semen, that is the definition of that. Yeah, it's when magic really starts to take a different approach, because like the lesser banishing ritual, the pentagram and the middle pillar and all that stuff, lesser hexagram ritual, all of it, it's energetic stuff. It's not even getting into this crazy stuff, but as you dig deeper and deeper, you start to realize that a lot of this is what's going on. What is caprophagy? I'm just going to look up these definitions real quick. What's that spelled? Always trying to find words, find out what words mean. Ew, the eating of feces or dung. Ugh. No. Nope. It's too much. The dark side gets weird. And see, I think you can be total left-hand path and dark side without getting into this stuff. I don't think it's necessary to go that crazy with it. And what is algolagnia? Desire for sexual gratification through inflicting pain on oneself or others. We know this is masochism or sadomasochism. Yeah, it's getting into all kinds of different areas of strange things. Crowley had a special recipe for personal purposes. Between 1920 and 1923, he indulged in cocaine, ether, and heroin. Not even sure what ether is. And caprophagy and sadomasochistic daydreams in which he was the slave. Weird. In my mass, the host is of excrement of his scarlet woman, as he called his lovers, male or female, that I can consume in awe and adoration while I make my holy guardian angel the latrine of my imagination. See, in my opinion, Crowley's really just fucking himself over. He's really messing with all these divine, magical energies, and really doesn't realize what he's getting himself into. I think temperance is really the way to go about things. Yeah, you can experiment with things a little bit, but when you get to that level of weirdness, and all those things, it starts to get really strange. Okay, and I don't think I read this part either. One can see how Aphrodite was to be born from the foam. I assume they're talking about the semen there. It seems that Rus worked along homosexual, or at least this is the other author of this book. I can't remember. I think I started to read this part, and then this is when they knocked on the door. It seems that Rus worked along homosexual, or at least homoerotic tantric lines, mutual touching of the phallic, the 11th degree under Crowley, but the central secret of his Ordo Templi Orientis was built around Richard Wagner's Parsifal. And I just saw something about that character in the Secret Teachings of All Ages. It has something to do with the Grail. The spear became the phallus, while the Grail, of course, was the vagina, which contained the Graal's beast, the nourriture of the Grail, that is, sperm and vaginal fluids. Rus's OTO system was formed on a utopian communistic society where the mother, with references to the Christian Maria, took central position in social and sexual life, called Community of Neo-Christians. See, that's where things get really creepy and stuff, like swapping of sexual partners and stuff. If that's what people really want to do and they all agree on it, everyone's in agreement. But I think in the end that just leads to catastrophe and ruin, like somebody gets hurt in the end. Although, being completely in like open relationships with multiple people, there's a term for that people do nowadays, and I can't really even think of what it's called, but it's like an open relationship kind of thing. The snake of the Ophites, which swallows its own tail, can be found on several of Rus's booklet covers. It symbolizes the sexual intercourse between God and man. See, we're really not supposed to... God exists on such a high plane of existence that, yes, things like the Big Bang and things of that nature are like sex on a more macrocosmic level, but it really goes beyond sex. When you get into like the angels and start working with the angelic energies, these are things that are way beyond that. Like, they don't think in those ways anymore. They don't operate in that way because they're so far above the physical realm. It's like Crowley just takes these spiritual principles and really just wants to, like, make them a physical, like, sexual thing, and it's not always about that. Yeah, you can enjoy the sexual act, and you can use your energy and stuff to elevate your consciousness and to bridge the gap between the physical and the spiritual, but it doesn't have to involve all this crazy stuff. To me, it seems like nonsense, but that's just me. To each their own. I just think it's a warning, should be a warning to some people, maybe what they're getting themselves into with certain groups and stuff. And that may not be their thing. They may just want more of a social club where they can do good works, and that's really like what Freemasonry is. Golden Dawn, there aren't too many Golden Dawn temples around. I know somebody who was a member of one or two, and she said a lot of them were kind of nerds, but I mean, that's quite a generic statement that could mean a multitude of different things, like I'm a nerd. So what does that mean? Maybe just stuck up a little bit, and you get that in a lot of the secret societies. It's people that are supposed to be open-minded because of but they end up being closed-minded, or they end up being dogmatic or arbitrary, controlling. So let's read the rest of this. Sex magically seen, it is the spermatozoon. Not all Gnostics are spermo-Gnostics, but in the context of the OTO, these have to be focused upon. Yeah, because there's Gnostics which integrate all of this strange sexual stuff, and then there are those who do not. Common to sex magic and spermognosis, whether aesthetic or libertine, is their concentration upon the sperm as the major center of human divine destiny. So yeah, things get interesting. So OTO rituals and sex magic, that's And I'm going to see who that book's by since I have Google right here. So I guess it was written by Aleister Crowley and Theodore Roos. That's what it looks like. Let me see. Yep, Theodore Roos and Aleister Crowley. Very interesting. So they wrote this themselves. Anyway, yeah, if anybody knows more about the book, I just read just a very little from it, and that was part 1. Okay, so yeah, I just wanted to get into a little bit of that stuff with you. And then I was going to talk about an advanced version of the Qabalistic Cross. So now normally when you do the Qabalistic Cross, you envision yourself, you're standing in the room that you are, and then you begin to grow. You move upwards, and you're growing taller and taller and taller above the house, above the town you're in, above the city, above the state, above the country, above the continent, and above the seas, and then your body moves up and up and up, past the planets and the stars. So for me, and you can visualize it, kind of in this pattern as well. As you are moving up, sometimes I'll see the moon here in the middle, and then, let's see, yeah, this is facing me. So this is my right, and I think this is maybe your right as well in the camera. That's what it looks like, and this is my left. So I think our rights and our lefts are the same from my looking out. So I will envision myself moving above the earth, moving above the astral realm, we go through the planets first. So what I will do is you envision yourself moving above the earth, and then you move past the moon, then you move past Mercury. You see Mercury going down below you, and then you see Venus. As I said, you can see this as the graph, or you can see it more if you look at pictures of the planets, or the outline of the solar system, you can see yourself rising above all of this. From Venus, you see Venus getting smaller before you, then you're moving past the Sun, past Mars, past Jupiter, past Saturn, and then you move into the zodiac, the firmament, the stars themselves. All the stars, you move past all the stars, and then you get to, I guess once you move past the stars, usually what I will see as I envision myself moving above, you start kind of back here. So as you move past the stars, you're moving out of the physical realm altogether. Then you are rising above the astral realm. Then you're rising above the realms of, it's so hard to explain how I'm seeing this in my mind, but you rise above the realms of Hod and Netzach, and you see the realm of intellect and, the realm of the Fae, and these realms are moving, you move past them, then you move up into Tippereth, then you move past the pillars of mercy and severity, you see them move beneath you, and then you come up to Hokmah and Bina, which is the divine masculine and feminine, and above this you see Kether. Finally you come to Kether, and then it's this bright white glow, and then even beyond that is the Ein Sof, or the limitless light, and I see this usually as a beam of the brightest white light I can imagine, and it's actually formulating Kether. From this beam of bright white light, which is the Ein Sof, or we see the Ein Sof, which is the limitless all. I see this personified as a dragon of infinite white light. It's just so glorious and resplendent that it's almost, until you're already in that state of mind, until you're in that meditative state, it'll be hard for you to see it or to really even envision it. And then beyond that is the Ein, which is the void. It's the no thing, which I see kind of like as this dark circle encasing a light. And this light that is within it is the most beautiful, beautiful, beautiful light you could possibly ever conceive of. And it's more beautiful than you can even conceive. And even just a fraction of this potentiality of all things. The ein is the no thing, so it's literally nothing, but it's also all potentiality. So one trickle of light from this no thing formulates more than all the manifested universe which has been formulated thus far. It's kind of like the whole dark matter type thing. There exists within like antimatter or the void, which is actually nothing, or we'll call it potential energy. There exists in that more potential energy than all of the manifested universe. That's how much energy exists inside of nothing, or what we conceive of to be as nothing, the space between. So yeah, that's where things get really interesting, and you start viewing the universe and all of that from the subtle energies. And then once you see that no thing, that light, you can pull that light down, and I'll usually see like kind of this white swirling, and it's almost kind of like a Dante, Paradiso. You can look up illustrations on that. I'm going to see if I can find that real quick. And then you pull that white light down, and that is your Qabalistic cross. That's your advanced Qabalistic cross. So you move above the earth, you move through all the planets in order, and then you go through the astral realm, and you're moving through the realms of intellect and emotion up to the central sun or sphere of Taparith. So it's the spiritual version of the sun. You're moving through the actual Sephiroth on the Tree of Life after you move past the planets. Many see them as one and the same thing, but the planets are really just the physical or the lower representations of those higher realms. So you move past the realms on the Tree of Life after you go past the physical planets. So you go above the realm of Netzach and Hod to Parith, and then you move past the pillars of severity and mercy. You see them as a pillar of blue on your left hand and the pillar of red on the right hand if you want to, and then you look up and then you'll see Hokmah Bina, the gray and the black, and then you ascend above that all the way until what we just described. You're pulling light down from the ein, the AIN, the no thing, which is in fact everything and more than what everything has ever been. It's unlimited potentiality, and it exists outside of creation itself. I also would recommend you to the readings of Madame Blavatsky if you want to learn more about the formation of the universe and how the science of all that works. It's such a grand, the concepts are even just hard for the normal mind to even, grasp at. It's like grasping at straws, even if you are intelligent, enough to understand the concepts, conceptually what she's talking about. All right. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. As we moved all the way up through from the Earth to the Moon, Mercury, Venus, Sun, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, the Zodiac, moving up through the astral realm, realms of intellect, and overcome emotions. So balanced emotion, balanced intellect, love, the heart, the central sphere of it all. The Raphael energy, moving up through the pillars of severity, mercy, Hokmah and wisdom, to Kether, and the three layers which exist above. Oh, that's what I was going to look up. Paradiso. So this is kind of what this picture does not really do it any justice. You probably cannot even see that. But this picture from the Paradiso, there we go. You can kind of see it at this angle. But that is what I see. I try to envision something like that when I'm ultimate source, the Ein, we're the ineffable, supreme, almighty, grand architect source of everything. You pull that energy down. And that's the Qabalistic Cross, the advanced Qabalistic Cross. Rather than just seeing yourself moving above the planets and then you see the white light, you're actually going through each level of existence and then pulling the energy down. The advanced middle pillar that I was talking about, ritual, normally you vibrate Hey, and then you vibrate Metatron, and then you would come down to Da'at. You pull the energy down to the throat where it's light purple, and then you would vibrate Yod He Vav He Elohim, and then you can vibrate the there's an Enochian angel for that sphere, which is Lbrp Komananu Tabe Tuim, according to Donald Michael Craig's Modern Magick. And then you would go down to Raphael, but the advanced version of the middle pillar, and this is extremely powerful if you've already done, of course, the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram, because you have the 4 angels at the quarters and Metatron and Sandalphon above and below you. But then after you've invoked Metatron above you, you can also see these angels as a circle around you, but I find that hard to do because the 4 elemental archangels are already around you. Metatron and Sandalphon, with the associated choirs as well, could be above and below you. And then, so you've got all these other archangels, the Tree of Life archangels, that you start to visualize. So I will see Metatron above me, and then I vision that light or that energy coming down to Hokmah, right around the left brain hemisphere, and I'll envision that as gray, and then I envision the Archangel Raziel. You can vibrate Raziel at Hokmah, and then you move across to this hemisphere, and then you vibrate Zophkael, that's the Archangel of Binah. And then the energy from this Kether moves down to the next level, which is at Da'at, where you vibrate Yod He Vav He Elohim. So you're seeing all of this simultaneously. This is why it's an advanced version of the middle pillar, and I don't really recommend it if you're having a lot of trouble with just visualizing the middle pillar alone. You can still try it at some point, but it's a lot of visualization and it's a lot of energy to put forth when you're doing all of this. So just make sure you're prepared to handle it mentally. And then from Da'at, you'd go down the Tree of Life, and Kamiel is going to be on your right shoulder. I'm sorry, Zodkael would be next, about right here. It's a blue archangel. And then Kamiel. And then the light, which is going from Yod He Vav He Elohim, Da'at, goes down to the chest, Raphael, you vibrate Yod He Vav He Eloav Da'at, and then you vibrate Raphael. Then you move down to the left hip with Hanael, invoke Hanael, move across to the right hip, and you can invoke Michael. And then, Shaddai El Kai is the fourth part. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's the fourth part of the middle pillar. And then after you do the Shaddai El Kai, you invoke Gabriel. And then you move down to Adonai Haaretz, of course, and invoke Sandalphon. So then you have all of the archangels of the Tree of Life envisioned on your body as the Tree of Life, along with the elemental archangels surrounding you, with the golden hexagram above and below, and the 4 blue flaming pentagrams around your body. And then, if you're really wanting to make it an advanced practice on top of this, when you have all of that envisioned as well, you can imagine the zodiacal archangels around you. There are 12 zodiacal archangels, and I find it easier to envision those in a circle out as a ring outside of the elemental archangels that I've already invoked. That way the Tree of Life archangels have their place within the sphere on your body. The sphere's on your body, the Tree of Life. And then you do the zodiacal archangels in a circle around. So that was another thing I wanted to mention in this video. And I think there's only one more thing that I wanted to do in this video. So make sure to check out both parts of the video. There was a part 1 to this. Most of the information is in this video, part 2. But we talked a little bit about sex magic today. I wanted to get into that just a little bit. We got into the advanced version of the Qabalistic Cross. And remember, if you don't have enough time in the day to do the LBRP or the lesser invoking ritual of the pentagram, you can always just do a quick Qabalistic Cross, or this advanced version of the Qabalistic Cross, which I do pretty much every time now. Now, sometimes after my ritual work, the way that I showed you to move up through those spheres, all the way to the Ein, the A-I-N, no thing, sometimes it'll help you to ground if afterwards you envision yourself moving back or descending through all these realms. So you go, from the Ein to the Ein Sof, to the Ein Sof, or the limitless light, moving back down through Kether and going back down through all of these different spheres, descending back. And then you go back through the planets as well, descending all the way through the planets, Zodiac, Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, moving on, the sun, etc., until you get all the way back down to Earth, and then you can return to your body. I don't feel that it's absolutely necessary to do that, but it can help ground you, and it can help bring you back, so to speak, because it is kind of like a version of astral traveling, this whole advanced Qabalistic Cross. Even the Qabalistic Cross itself is. This is just a more, specific way of how to do it. It's a more detailed Qabalistic Cross. And then the one last thing I wanted to mention is I think there is a lot of credibility in those who say that you should do the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram. The lesser invoking ritual of the pentagram in the morning. It should be done, if you can, in the morning, and then do an LBRP at night. I think that is the best method of doing that. And that's really what the Golden Dawn, I believe, said all along. You do invoking in the morning and banishing in the evening, or Israel Regarde, I guess, is the one who said this. And that's something that I wanted to add to that is in Frater Xavier's Mind and Magic YouTube channel, he just put out a new video. I don't know if the material's new or if he took clips from one of his older videos, but it was really good information indeed. He talks about how some people with their magic, some people are better at pushing things away or banishing, and others are better at invoking or drawing things to them. So keep that in mind in your magical practices. Are you better at drawing things to you, or are you better at pushing things away? So this whole process of invoking in the morning and banishing at night, use the invoking time to draw in what you want, so that the energies of the things that you want to manifest are always coming in. They're always being sucked in through and being filtered out through the pentagrams, being brought into your experience, through the four quarters. And then when you do the banishing, imagine all the things you don't want being banished away. So all the forces and effects that you do not want within your aura, are banished. So in this way, your body is constantly invoking what you want and banishing what you don't want. So it's kind of this constant influx of instead of if you're always banishing, you're always pushing the energy away. And this could make you feel depleted even. I think that was part of my problem for a long time, is I was only doing the banishing ritual of the pentagram. But if you can do invoking and banishing, I think this is really what's best. And then you create that influx of... And then if you're only doing invoking, that's going to just build up and build up and build up the energy. It's better to make it so that you're invoking and then pushing out, invoking, drawing to, and then filtering what you don't want. And you kind of get in this cycle. So I just wanted to add that as well. Sometimes I think it's beneficial to take breaks from your magic too, and see what effect your magic that you've already done will or has manifested on the physical plane. Sometimes you need to take a break so that you can see what has transpired, what has come to pass. So everyone, I didn't have notes on any of that stuff particularly. I just had kind of taken some snapshots from that one OTO book. But I think you all would really, I think most of you on this channel are kind of curious about this information and penetrating the deeper mysteries and everything. One last thing I do want to say is thank you to everyone who has subscribed to my YouTube channel. Those of you who watch my channel, I kind of wanted to do a shout out video to all of you subscribers, and I may still do that at some point. That is just, it's a shout out video thanking all of you for being here, and because really without you, I'm nothing. I'm really just talking to myself into a phone, and then this information's not getting, it's not being sent out and picked up by the necessary people that it needs to be picked up by. So I think in this way we can transmit divine knowledge, and really the ultimate goal is to bring the mystery schools about on this plane of existence once again. And I don't think I have my Secret Teachings of All Ages. My Manly P. Hall book is out in the living room. But there's a beautiful passage from that, and I can read it to you all at some point, that talks about the reinstitution of the mystery schools and how, really the ultimate goal is to bring about this people who can devote themselves to the philosophical life. We will be the rebuilders of society, getting the aesthetic and the beauty, all these things back into society, so it's not all this discordant energy. It's really chaos. So as magicians, we really need to bring order out of chaos. I think that's probably the reason why most of us came here to Earth, especially those of you who watch this channel. You're such conscious beings that you're not here to really just make a mess or just do the same thing that everybody else is doing. You are here to change the game. You're here to kind of pick up the broken pieces, just like Isis. We're here to gather and harvest this information so we can bring it, and the new generations can really utilize this stuff and transform the world. So once again, thank you to all my subscribers. Maybe I'll do a shout out video at some point. I tried to go through and look at all the different comments and pick out certain subscribers and give specific shout outs, but I've had quite a few comments on all my videos, so it was going to take me a while just to do that. So I really, hopefully, just a thank you will suffice. I try to thank all of you at the end of all my videos anyway, because that's really important to me. It's important to me that this stays real. I don't want this to be like a super commercial thing or anything. All I ever want is for my needs to be taken care of, and I'm always willing to lend a hand to society, even just a job. Albert Pike said all work, has meaning, even the little work. So I try to think of my job at Kroger as doing the great work. I'm going and I'm helping people get their food and stuff, and that's a really important task that needs done, in the society, in the culture, in the tribe. So that's my little role I play in normal society. And then when I'm alone in my little cave here or wherever in the study area, I'm working away. I'm slaving away at this knowledge and this gnosis. So alrighty, I will let you all go finally. Thank you once again. Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. That's what I was going to say too, if I don't see you before Christmas. So peace and blessings, everyone, and until next time.